Would you believe it if I told you that Infernoble Knights finally got the chance to have a run back, and evidently there's a going second adding Mr. deck that exists? Session of the crap out of that subscribe button, guys, to miss out more awesome content. We have the breakdowns for the Fargo and the Planet Hawaii regionals from this past weekend for you guys. I'm waiting on a little bit more info to kind of keep through the cracks here, but I just wanted to kind of talk about some more upfront things here. So the first regional I want to talk about here is Fargo, and Fargo actually ended up having pretty much the same thing we've seen all format here, where Sword Soul is this dominant competitor, all right? For whatever reason, took 4 of the top slots. This is a very similar story to what we saw earlier in the week here, but some interesting things happened in Top Cut here. Infernoble actually ended up winning this regional and ran it through the other 4 Sword Soul decks, all right? That's it. All right, Infernoble did get second at this event, but I actually think that it's absolutely hilarious at the fact that Infernoble could run through the competition that easily. And then we had 2 Phantom Knights. That's a story we've seen pretty much for this whole format. And then we had 1 virtual world list, which is Michael State's list. That will be on the PPG channel for you guys to find later on. I don't have that right now. Outside of that, that is your breakdown for Fargo. Now, the Planet in Hawaii, this is also kind of an interesting story here. The regional was won by T'Challa playing Tri-Brigade Bird Up. All right. Second place was also Tri-Brigade Bird Up. That's 2 regionals now that Bird Up has dominated that. But when you kind of trickle on down here, Shannon Long got 3rd place with BA. I have that list for you guys on this video. And then there's a going second adding Mr. deck that exists. And it will be up on YouTube at some point. It wasn't up by the time I got this video produced, so I don't actually have that for you guys. But that's going to be something of interest that I think some people out there that are playing Ignister will enjoy. And then, of course, there were 2 Sword Soul and then 2 Drytron as well, wrapping up your breakdown for Hawaii. Now let's go take a look at some of those deck lists, shall we? Alright, the first list we actually have for you guys is the Infernoble list here, and this is going to pretty much paint the same picture that we've been painting the entire time that this deck has been around. Aurora Dawn Go Burr. Alright, the fact that this deck actually still acts on the axis of making the whole synchro boards, I don't think this deck actually does anything else. This particular build still taking advantage of the Phantom Knight engine. Well, Robbie, isn't this just a Phantom Knight deck? Well, I mean, it's not their fault that these guys are in fact warriors. You get that in-house synergy, so you can kind of take advantage of things. But remember, the whole point of this deck, you still revolve around Isolde, getting those crucial mills off of your equips, setting up your Divine Sword Phoenix Blade so you can take advantage of things, and you produce this pretty ridiculous synchro slash, Appaloosa, whatever board that you need to build through this to intimidate your opponent, and your opponent's just like, oh, like, I can't do anything about this. So that's actually just kind of the modern powerhouse that Infernoble is. Not really much else to say about this. It's still very reminiscent of previous builds here. Next up is the 3rd place Sword Soul list out of Fargo here, and this is pretty interesting. We're on 2 copies of Heavenly Dragon Cycle. We're playing 0 vassals for this build. Like I said, every Sword Soul list seems to do something completely different in terms of development around these particular cards. Seen 2/2 with 2 vassal. It's all over the place. It's just kind of your preference and how you want to engage with that. Double blackout is fine. Some people have opted to cut the Protos at this point inside it. It's kind of up in the air. And then we're not playing the Draco Masters of the 10E, which is a little bit more recent innovation that we've seen come out of this deck, which I do think is pretty good, all things considered. So I would definitely give that some consideration based on, current innovations for this deck. Outside of that, there's nothing else really too crazy to say about this. Next up, it's Phantom Knight time. This would be your 4th place list with Peter Shields here. See, of course, we're still playing the Plasma Dasher. Doesn't really serve a purpose in this list. At least if you can get to this point, you'll be laughing at your opponent and they'll be staring at you going, oh, what am I supposed to do about this? 3 Fusion Destiny. I know some builds have cut back trying to play 2 from previous times. Not a super big fan of that one, but I guess I can understand why that they would try to do this. Outside of that, there's nothing else too particularly interesting here. Michael State ended up getting 5th place with Virtual World, which we don't have that list here. And next up here we have Yang Wu's 6th place finish here with Sword Soul. Oh, this is nice. We have Ice Dragon Prisons built into this list. Okay. We have Instant Fusion to make the Magic Key tuner. Okay. That's interesting. We have, oh boy, yep. Here we go. I was waiting for somebody to try this. So actually, they play the Harpy / Synchro Monster. So you can actually interact with Featherstorm on or during your turn. It's absolutely hilarious. It's just something else that you can do that doesn't really cost you any resources whatsoever. And as you can see, this build is way more fine-tuned to be more of a rogue challenge to the format than really anything else. So that's once again one of the cool things you can do with Sword Soul. And the last list I have for you guys out of Fargo here is another Sword Soul list. Oh boy, this one's not quite as innovative, but see, this is what I mean. Like, you've got people playing the Heavenly Dragon cycle, you have people that want to play Vassal. You literally pick your poison on what you want to do with this. I also see that this build opted to play the Instant Fusion so we can get to the Magic Key Tuner monster for the sub-start. And I also see here that we have Chalices built into this deck as another sub-option so we can play the game. Alright, understandable. Outside of that, that is everything for this regional. The planet. Alright, 2nd place was Joseph McMahon's, McCons, sorry if I butchered that, Bird Up list. And Bird Up never really gets too exciting here. We have the Harpy's Featherstorms down here in the side deck. Check. Bird calls all the necessary pieces in the world here, and the sackiest card in the format. All wrapped up with some Mystic Minds to make sure that you can get the game back to your turn. Everything looks pretty standard here, ladies and gentlemen. Nothing else too exciting here. Shannon Long's Burning Abyss deck. I actually had to play Shannon Long round 1 out of the Hawaii Regional. And, you know, I'm not going to lie. It's annoying watching Zeus Turbo do what Zeus Turbo does. Now, if you guys are like, oh, this is actually just what this is. Obviously, you have access to, you know, spot removal options through Farfa. Beatrice is probably one of your coolest interaction points in this deck because post-side decking, you know, you can drop the Token Collector for your Sword Soul matchup. It just puts you in such a commending position that your opponent's going to have a hard time finding outs and things to try to play against this. I'm actually a big dum-dum too, and I forgot that Beatrice could drop the Token Collector. And game 2 I was like, oh yeah, that's a thing that your deck does. Then we ended up losing to the Imperm on the Verte Anaconda. But you know what? Sometimes it happens, ladies and gentlemen. So I do think that for the most part, this is Shannon's been pretty much a big fan of this deck. I've definitely enjoyed watching the progress for this deck being developed, this format, because Shannon is no stranger to these regional top cuts, ladies and gentlemen. And I think we're going to continue to see pretty huge developments from them as well here, especially as Worlds Points come along. So I got to give it to the man for sticking to, you know, Zeus Turbo and really getting the chance to show people what this deck can do. Also, Megaclops go burr. Man, you get Megaclops in this format, you just literally cry. Next up here is Drytron. This was Guang Liu's 6th place finish here. I see that we have the Preparation of Rites. So in the past, you've seen a lot of people kind of deviate between Big Herald, Little Herald. Preparation of Rites getting to search for this guy, you know, in case something like happens to your hand traps or you get hand trapped along the way or something. I mean, we're in a format right now where Drytron kind of struggles. And I'm not seeing that in like a bad regard because this deck it did get a win out of this weekend, but it feels like at some points this deck just hates itself. I also love these 1-ups in here. The Dark Ruler, you know, of course, the 1 of Instant Fusion, the 1 of Metanus, by the way. We have 2 droplets in the main deck here. We have the 2nd Dark Ruler, the 3rd droplet down here. We have all of our tech cards all over the board. It's actually kind of interesting in terms of a build. Alright, next up here, we have more Sword Soul for you guys. This is David Lawrence's 7th place finish here. I see that we have the 2 Heavenly Dragon Cycles. No Vassals in this list. We're playing the 1 Synthana. Protos is still main. Check, check, check. We're playing the Effect Veilers for this build. We have Pinkertops down here in the side deck. And There's everybody's favorite Draco Masters of the Tenyi. Outside of that, this deck is still pretty streamlined, and you don't get a lot of like cool leeway options for this. Next up here is the final Drytron list. This would be 8th place out of the Hawaii Regional here. We got anti-spells and pointers up in this bad boy here. I see that we still have the Plasma, the Scythes, all that good stuff. Oh yeah, we did see this deck win a regional this weekend. This is the exact same player that ran it back 2 back-to-back regionals this weekend. Good job, Elijah. This is your breakdown for the Fargo and Hawaii regionals. There is the going second at Ignister list that exists. It will show its head when it needs to. Michael State's list will be on PPG for those of you that want to see Virtual World with a Sci-Frame engine. I will see your beautiful faces back here later on today with some more cool ass content. Peace out, guys. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.